Dear social work students and professionals, welcome to all the new listeners. You are at the right place at the right time. And you already know, to the social work tribe, I'm sending you nothing but love and positive vibes. Thank you all for listening to the Social Work Learning Lounge podcast, the academic segment of the Core Inspirations channel. I'm Melanie, your social work development coach. So tell me, how is everyone doing? Progressing in your social work program? What about your social work career? What's working? What's not? I would love to know. What can you expect from this channel? An exclusive space designed for social work students and professionals. Here, you will gain additional insight on all things social work, from career, education, inspiration, and self-care. I also share my expertise and my challenges of my journey through obtaining my BSW, MSW, and my LCSWA. So believe me, you do not want to miss out. So please be sure to check out the playlist on the channel. You're going to love it here. But before we proceed with today's topic, have you subscribed? Please help me grow our social work tribe. Subscribe. Also, be sure to turn on your notification bell to ensure that you do not miss out on any new social work content. Come on now, don't be like that. Share. Share this channel with anyone you feel like it would be useful for. And last but not least, please hit the like button, as it lets YouTube share my content with others who can truly benefit from this platform. Before we conclude with the last point in today's episode, please be sure to listen to the end to find out who this episode Social Work Tribe shout out will go to. Episode number 2, what you need to know about social work. For today's episode, we will be taking a closer look at the following subject matters. Number 1, social work level of practice. Number 2, the impact of social workers. Number 3, worth and value. If you are a social work student or a social work professional, ask yourself these questions. If not now, then when? If not you, then who? Because it's truly an ideal time to be or become a social worker. Throughout this episode, I will continue to ask you questions and also remind you of how detrimental the profession of social work is to humanity as we know it. So sit back, listen, and enjoy the podcast. I remember sitting in class and sometimes not being able to really connect the dots or fully understand how systems, policies, and laws were really interconnected and how those embedments could really affect the lives of clients, families, and communities. That's why internships, field placements, and field practicums are vital to social work students, as it provides added competence through hands-on and practical experience. It simply aids in helping students bridge their classroom instruction, or as we say it, it's where the rubber meets the road. For our first topic matter, first-hand experience of seeing how all levels of social work practices are interconnected, I'm going to convey to you through using COVID-19 as a case study, and where we will explore together the impact from the pandemic and see all forms of interconnections within social work practices. And furthermore, strengthening your understanding as you will be able to clearly see how systems and levels of practice are directly correlated with one another. Social workers are able to recognize and identify the interconnections between the numerous levels of social work practice, be it macro, mezzo, or micro. And yes, COVID-19 has been a huge contributor of stretching across all levels within the profession of social work. However, we as social workers are versed in addressing problems from a systematic and multidimensional perspective. We also understand that despite people from all around the world being in a global crisis simultaneously, still does not quantify nor represent equal impact to those that remain a part of oppressed, vulnerable, and marginalized populations. So some of you may be asking, so Melanie, what do you mean? What I mean is the pandemic does not hit the same for everyone. When we factor in reciprocity between persons and their environment, COVID-19 is a case study truly in itself. Don't believe me? Let's take a further look. Macro. What policies have been implemented as a result of COVID-19? The CARES Act, statewide stay-at-home orders, economic impact payments, aka checks, IRS deadlines and tax extensions, the education system as it relates to remote learning, healthcare systems regarding the mental health sectors and beyond, the Employment Securities Commission, Social Security, the Department of Social Services, and let's not forget nonprofits and policies and laws surrounding affordable housing and shelters and transitional housing programs. And that's just to name a few. So how has federal, state, and local policies affected the mezzo level of practice? How are families affected by the mentioned policy changes? And then ask yourself this: how has the policies impacted individuals overall? Within the more direct practice level, are clients experiencing more of an increase or decrease risk or potential risk of being more exposed to COVID-19? Have adequate processes been put in place to help clients navigate systems to obtain and access their needed resources? What are your thoughts on this? COVID-19 shows us clearly how what happens at the top trickles down to the bottom. Social workers are also guided through evidence-based research and see through lenses of theoretical frameworks. For example, using the person-environment theory, do you feel that COVID-19 has caused or influenced behaviors of certain populations due to the conditions of their environments? For example, what if a person who lives in a rural area needs food but has no phone or any form of transportation? What would you do to resolve that problem? These are just some examples of how social workers are able to see and fully understand that when a client comes to your office or agency to see about how they can get help, and they begin to report their presenting problems, identified needs, desired goals, and requested resources, that there are sometimes additional barriers and traumatic experiences that are often left unspoken, but has drastically influenced particular outcomes on numerous levels within the client's life. Number 2, the impact that social workers provide to society, clients, and our overall profession. Listen, there's nothing wrong with hearing someone out, but please do not let people tell you what it means to be a social worker and all their reasons why it's not a lucrative career. You determine that from your own experiences. Because social workers, we create change. We cultivate relationships. We lead, we aid, we support, we are problem solvers. And we also resolve problems by being guided by and through theory and research. We live out, talk out, and walk out our code of ethics. We render psychoeducation, active listening skills, warmth, empathy, and unconditional positive regard. We seek to understand, again, we are problem solvers. We evaluate, communicate, assess, examine, strategize, broker, link services, provide additional resources, and referrals. We stand with and often against racial, social, economic, and environmental injustices. This is just a glimpse of who we are and what we do. This is an ideal time for you to be or become a social worker. So tell me, are you preparing yourself? If you are a student, have you really committed to fully applying your fullest potential while pursuing your education? If you are in the field, new or seasoned, how are you helping to create change in your role? Are you asking questions, seeking additional support, partnering to gather additional resources to meet your clients' identified needs? Know this: social work students, social work professionals, faculty, staff, we are all needed. Our skill sets are essential. We're moving on to the last and final topic of this particular episode. Assess and evaluate the value you bring as it relates to your skills, education, expertise, and passion. Know the worth. Know the worth and value you bring, even while being a student. Know your worth and value you bring to your classroom, within your cohort, as well within the profession, your company, nonprofit, or agency. Know your worth and value both personally and professionally. I have another question to ask you. Did you choose this work, or did this work choose you? If there is any doubt, any moment of imposter syndrome, please understand that you have what it takes. Even when you have to redo that paper, even when you're frustrated, upset, and ready to give up, even when others don't respect or understand the sacrifices you are having to make right now, even if you feel that you are too young and lack experience, even if you feel that you're too old and you waited too long to try to change and start again, even if you feel like you just don't understand, remember this: you can. Please be sure to share this content with anyone that you even think can benefit from hearing this, because I am on a mission to change the negative narrative as it relates to what it calls for in being a social worker. So please, let's build our social work tribe together. All right, I'm down to the social work minute. And this week's social work tribe shout out goes to, let me repeat it. And this week's social work tribe shout out goes to, are you guys ready? Rosie. And I don't want to mess up your last name, so I'm going to spell it. It's Florestal. Thank you so much, Rosie, for always being a supporter of the channel, being patient with my uploads, and always being so willing to help out others. Social work tribe, please show some love to Rosie. This is Melanie with Core Inspirations, inspiring you to live more from your core, to discover it, to explore it, and where we work together to fully develop it as a student and professional. Thanks so much for listening.